Hello and welcome back to another episode of AddiBiotics Chat Over Coffee. This week we have the esteemed pleasure interviewing architectural lecturer Mr Joseph Iwuafor. We're going to know how Joseph got into architecture, his love for it, and the projects he'll be pursuing in the future as well. Now sit back, relax, grab yourself a cup of coffee and enjoy this interview. Oh, and don't forget to click subscribe and turn on those notifications as well. Appreciate it. Joseph Iwuafor, thank you so much for doing this. How are you?
Hello. I'm great, thank you. Hi, Addy. How are you doing today?
I'm well, brother. Nice to see you again. And once we're actually meeting outside the gym, not inside the
Yeah.
gym. As they say,
Yes,
all the clanging and banging. Well, there's nothing wrong with hearing the sounds of clanging and banging, is there?
definitely. It's like music to my ears most of the time, to be honest. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me on here, by the way. Appreciate
The
that.
honor, the appreciation's all of ours. Put it that way. Everybody who works behind the scenes, in front of the camera, all the editors, everybody, we're all pleased to have you here. I speak on, not sounding egotistical, but saying that I speak on their behalf for this one. But it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you.
I appreciate that, brother.
Good, thank you. So, as we start off with all our guests, first of all, we'd like to say congratulations on all your accomplishments, whether it's in the academic world, the architectural world, the teaching world. You've pretty much done quite a lot of everything during the academic perspective, haven't you?
Yeah, I
What?
kind of. Sorry, carry
Yeah.
on.
No, please go ahead. Go ahead.
But nah, yeah, I kind of have just been, yeah, pretty much a school rat the whole time, to be honest. A little bit in practice, but yeah, it's always back in the academia part. It's just, yeah, for me, it's so exciting all the time.
Yeah, that's good. That's good because you know what they say. You know, university is one of those places where you actually go and find your real self, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think it's when you kind of break away when you're a teenager. It depends when, essentially, when you go out and you have to go sort of fend for yourself for the minimum of 3 years. You really find what you're sort of drawn to and what doesn't work for you. And after those 3 years, if you're stuck with something that you like, you end up just chasing. And I think everyone should have the experience, not necessarily for the career prospects, but just what it does for you as a human being. It really sort of grounds you in the reality you want to create or the dreams you want to create, and I think it's a great thing in general for sure.
It sounds like you're always having fun there because you're even when I see you in the gym, you always walk around with a smile on your face. I bet you like that when you're teaching your students as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I try to do things that keep me happy and make me happy all the time. I think if you can spread joy, it's always a blessing all the time. So yeah, if you see me smiling, yeah, it's just my element, I guess.
Smile can go a mile, as they say, isn't it?
Yeah,
A smile
I
can
love
go
it.
a
You always
mile.
come up with these fantastic quotes. I love that.
Fantastic. So yeah, because that was the one I once mentioned to you once. It was the self-belief gives the best relief.
Relief,
And
yeah, I love that. I love that.
like I said, I'll put it on a T-shirt for you. We'll hand it to you as well.
We
That'd
can
be
make it
okay.
a whole gym thing, yeah, for sure.
Actually, that's not a bad
Definitely.
idea. I'll talk to the team about it. I'm sure they'll be down. The
For sure.
architect came. The architect designed it for us. So, like I said, so start off with, so the main simple question we want to ask you is, how did you get into architecture? And for those who do not know what it is, what is architecture?
So architecture essentially is about thinking and the design of buildings and spaces we live in. But at the very basis, I think the design is one bit, which is that's kind of what a lot of people focus on. But the thinking is also quite this massive. Imagine like an iceberg. You get the design at the top, and thinking essentially all that part you don't see. So I think these two things go hand in hand. And for me, I think my history was in like literature, understanding ideas of symbolism. I also quite liked physics and drawing. So you don't want to go in all these three places individually, but when you sort of mix them together, you get architecture. You can always sort of pick architecture from all these little places, and for me, that was the basis of my journey. And then I came into university. The first year wasn't I didn't really understand what was going on, but the second year, like things kind of hit the ground running, and start thinking about university being grounding for you. And you realize, wow, if you put your mind to something, you can really go as far as you want to, and you can really have a good time doing that. So from there, I think from my second year, it was a cemented thing, and yeah, since then, literally stuck in that space, and I'm loving it so far. Definitely still gonna be loving it 10,000 years from now, hopefully.
There'll be a good legacy for you to leave behind.
100%.
what would we call the Iwuafor legacy? We'll call it that.
Hopefully, I'm that great in when I can be. That's great.
That's good. That's good. As long as you stick to something that you love doing, and because,
Yeah,
like I say, part of going to university, speaking from personal experiences, you find something that you enjoy doing. If something's not working out for you, it's probably telling you that for a reason. It's not
yeah.
to look bad at it as thinking, oh, am I wasting my time, wasting my money doing this when I should be investing it into this way? You could just think of it that way. Just switch it over into something else, can't you?
Yeah, 100%. I think people actually go to university and they don't want to go to the lectures as much, but then they end up doing stuff so much with so much passion, which is not necessarily their degree. And I'm like, just do that thing that takes up your time so much. And I feel like if you're productive, you're helping people, like do that thing. Sometimes being at university to do a degree doesn't necessarily mean you're going to use that degree at the end. It's just what do you do? What fills up your time the most? What fills up what you're thinking about constantly? And it's like if you think about something constantly, I think go into that space because that's the space you naturally want to be. For me, I ended up thinking about school and projects the most. I was like, oh wow, that's not normal, or that might be normal, which is good. So that's why I'm like, you know what, let's carry on doing this because it generally is taking up my time outside of scheduled hours. So it's like, yeah, let's do it. I think also, especially during the summers, if you find yourself wanting to break away from the course you're doing to enjoy life or something during the summers, it's like maybe you're not that interested. Perhaps you want to wherever you spend your time, what you want to catch up on in the summers. I think that's a key part for what you should carry on with life. So for me, it was I'm thinking about how do we do better the next project. It's like the off season. How do you work harder for the next times? And I was like, you know what, that's it. If this thing is literally stuck in my mind the whole time, I'm gonna carry on with it because it seems that's what's right for me, and that was what it was. That's what it is still.
Interesting input you put there, Joseph. I admit to that. It was really good. No, it was good. It was nice and
A little
yeah,
bit
good.
long-winded, sorry. I guess
No,
I'm
no,
passionate when
not in
stuff comes
any
up.
shape or form. Because to be honest with you, when it comes to being passionate about something, especially whether it's in the academic world, whether
Yeah,
it's outside like in the gym as yourself and
yeah,
myself, and
yes,
whether it's anything that you want to do, you're pursuing something with passion.
yeah,
And there's
100%.
a good quote I once heard was, and I'll give another quote for you, and he's already smiling. It says the day you give up on your passion will be the day you stop living, because then you just fall down in that whole um the whole nine to five thing, and it's like I'm just doing it for the sheer sake of it because I need to pay the bills, this, that, and the other. But what is your real passion?
Yeah, yeah,
What is
yeah.
your passion that you need?
That, literally, my mother keeps telling me, I think, which is really great. She's been a fantastic role model. Is if she always asks me if I'm doing something, she asks me first, "Do you like it?" She always asks me, "Do you like it?" It's never about, "Oh, how much is it bringing in? How much? What's it?" Blah, blah, blah. Forget about all of that. It's like, "Do you like doing it?" And that's for me. I'm like, that's how I take everything. If I like doing it, money becomes a side effect, and more often than not, the money will always come if you just really are absolutely sort of engrossed in something you're doing. So for me, it's find something you really like and just go down that route. You're never working, you just live in life, and it sort of spreads the energy around to people around you. You're never grumpy or whatever, you never escape into the weekend becomes a small time for you to work on these things. So 100% passion should be at the forefront of any decision you make.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, whether it's even like say yourself being a lecturer or being a podcaster or anything like that, it's
Yes,
just
sure.
doing something with that passion because it's something that you enjoy doing. It's like, for example, somebody who goes fishing on the weekend, they're passionate
Yeah,
about fishing on the
yeah,
weekend, or seeing a friend to grab a cup of coffee. Same thing, isn't it? It's all about, yeah, I'm passionate. I want to get out, go mingle,
yeah.
socialize, be a sociable person, not to be very antisocial, just sitting at home all day in quote the comfort zone.
Absolutely, I
People become
completely agree.
architects of their own comfort zones, don't they?
Absolutely. And one thing about it's good to talk about comfort zone. I feel like the more you're in your comfort zone, it becomes really uncomfortable. You don't even like it anymore. You're just stuck in that loop. And I think break out of it. Go find something that sort of makes you feel alive. That comfort space, it hardly ever is comfortable after a while. It becomes a drag. So I think when you challenge yourself, the reward from it is much greater than when you don't. So I think it's a big constant thing. Be passionate and keep challenging yourself always. That's how growth works.
That's true. That is very true. You have to just keep challenging yourself. I mean, the most difficult challenge would be to break out of your comfort zone. Would be setting foot over the front door to go out
Yeah,
into the world.
yeah, for sure,
Definitely.
for sure.
How do you approach each project that comes your way?
So whenever I get a project like this, whenever I get a project, people think, "Oh yeah, you're creative. You just sitting there, stuff just comes in your mind." I think the best kind of creativity comes from learning stuff from people before and questioning things that you already know. And for me, whenever I do a project, I'd always look into, okay, how has someone done this before? Who was the first person to do this, and how can I sort of take that on board, but at the same time challenge it to fit my space right now, and also
Yeah.
leave a gap for someone in the future to learn from me. So you're creating this line of history. You learn from this last person, you learn, and then leave that space for the next person to come back and learn from you. So for me, it's always looking back. Looking back always is looking forward. The best things usually are almost like questions of what's happened before brought into a new light. So for me, the study of history is so crucial to every practice I do. So I'm always looking back at things before I do something else, just out of respect to people who've done it before me as well. It's so key.
That's good because you just want to. It's good to look back on the history of things, so like for a
100%.
building or for anything that you're going to create. But
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
don't want to do is mimic it. You want to create your own, put your own touch to something, don't you?
Exactly. A lot of people think, "Oh, I'm trying to be original," but how do you know you're original if you don't know the history of something? You might feel like
Exactly.
you're original, but someone's done it 50 years before, and because you have that lack of knowledge, you don't realize that what you've done is not necessarily original. So I think it's that understanding of trying to have because history has already happened, so you might as well learn from it and start to
Yeah.
pick it apart, and
Yeah.
that's where the true originality comes from. It's not necessarily, "Oh, we're going to go 100% in a new direction." It's we're going to look at something that's already happened and change a perception of it. That's for me. That's true originality, and at the same time, respect for what's happened before you.
That's good. That's good because you're respecting the previous person's wishes and their jobs
Yeah,
before you.
yeah,
You don't want to like God forbid damage that
yeah.
bit.
It
But you
also
have to put
makes it.
your own touches to it, don't you?
Yeah, it also makes it easier because they've made the mistakes. Why would you have to make the mistakes again? Just carry on,
Exactly. Yeah.
understand the mistakes, and build on top of that. Always the key for me.
Exactly. Out of every negative, there's a positive.
100%, 100%. Another one. No, I think we should have like a little like counter for like Addy quotes. So every time and have it written aside. Love
Well,
it.
you can create that for me if that's okay.
Yeah,
Then
for now that's fine. Just got my five
forget,
going in now.
forget the magic 8 ball. We just have one of those little quotes. Just snap your finger on. Oh, there's this one for today. There's this one for next. We'll work together on that one, brother.
No
Thank you.
worries.